And welcome to another episode of Primetime Makeover. I am here with two of my illustrious co hosts, Sheila Hopkins and Lysandra Lester. Melissa, we are missing her today, but you know what? We're all busy. And we're grateful for this medium where we can connect virtually. And so we're here for a very special show today. This is our Mother's Day show. And as you can see, we're all fabulous in our pajamas with our coffee to talk about what mothers needs and how we can show up first for ourselves this Mother's Day and then support the people and the emotions that we have and that we love. Okay? So, I hope that you're well. I hope that whatever is going on for you this Mother's Day, that you find us here at Primetime Makeover a good support. Know that we love you. We're appreciative of you, who you are, your story, your journey. It all matters to us. So let's get started. We're going to talk about three things today. I'm going to open up the topic with what mom needs. Some of us may have maybe agonizing over gifts. Whoa, do I just need to get just the right gift? And that will probably be something Lysandra can wrap up with. But it can create a lot of stress. And so I want to share with you some things that we found that mothers really need. And then I want our panel to weigh in on which of these resonates the most with them. Okay. So I did some research. What mom needs. You ready? Deep rest and quiet. Yes, deep rest and
Mm.
quiet. A morning to sleep in, an empty house for a few hours, or a dedicated day off from household chores. Reduced mental load. Somebody take over the daily tasks like planning meals and walking the dog and managing schedules. Pampering and self care. Everybody ought to have at least one pair of fancy pajamas. I'm sorry, here I go with the pajamas again. That we get to wear around the house and feel and look beautiful in. Sheila, wave to the people. Wave, Sheila. See, they need to see the fur underneath of her screen. Beautiful. But pampering and self-care, a spa day, a facial, a massage, or for some of us introverts, being left alone just for a little while. Not forever, just for a little while.
Mhm.
Quality time, unplanned, maybe a family dinner or brunch or a fun activity that the children or the partner have organized. And I like this one the best. Heartfelt connection, a handwritten note, a sentimental photo, or simply a slow, unhurried conversation. And my daughter Alex is just a master at that. That heartfelt connection. She's really good. But I'm also going to talk about, for those of you who are thinking about your mothers and wanting to make the day more meaningful, let me acquaint you with some of the struggles that women over 50 face, mothers over 50 face. The silent crisis and loneliness. Statistics say over a third of women 50 to 64 face social isolation and loneliness, often suffering in silence rather than reaching out for help. Then there's the grief stacking and caregiving. These rapid consecutive losses. And I don't know about anybody else. I've been to probably 4 funerals in the last month. And so it happens. And what do we do with all of that emotion? Grief stacking. And at the same time, we may be caring for our own parents. Reevaluating that identity. Who am I now? Who am I now that the kids are grown and nobody needs me in the same way that they did? And then there's the health and the physical changes. Menopause is its own show and beast. We probably need to invite menopause on just to have its special section. I'm not coming to that show. Menopause probably needs its own show and its own, okay. So anyway, um, and then there's the financial and the career stress because at this point you may be trying to decide, Can I afford to retire? Do I want to retire? Am I coasting in my career? Or do I feel the sense that there's more for me to do? And finally, there are those changing family dynamics. We don't see people as often as we used to. And so, to Sheila and Lysandra, do any of these strike a chord or resonate with you?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The one thing, well, all of it resonates to me, but the one thing that
Hmm.
stands out for me is the piece when you find yourself alone on
Yeah.
Mother's Day. And it can feel complicated because your house is more quiet. Things
Mhm.
change. Your kids are now living their own lives. And
Mhm.
as wonderful as it is to be with your children or other loved ones, it's not always possible.
Yeah.
And you find yourself wondering, what do I do now? For me, my mom is gone. My mom has passed away like 30 something years now. My
Okay.
son got married and moved away a year before my husband graduated and transitioned on to heaven. And so I
Yeah.
found myself alone on Mother's Day. And I'm like, well, what do I do now? Who's going to celebrate me? And so what I decided is, okay, I'm not going to, I was sad, but I
Hmm.
decided I'm not going to stay that way because that's just too much.
Yeah.
um, take you out of here, just sitting and being sad and thinking about what used to be. So, what I decided is that Mother's Day doesn't have to end because your kids are now gone. It just takes on a different shape. You're still a mother. Motherhood hasn't gone away. And so, what I decided to do was to celebrate me. All of those things you mentioned, Michelle, about rest and maybe a spa day or whatever, I decided to do for myself. It got me
Hmm.
out of the house. It made me feel good. And so it was just a different shape of what motherhood looks like. And so I
Yeah.
decided I would get with my sisters. I had four of them at the time. And I would get with my sisters. So all of our kids are now grown. Our mother is gone. And so we decided to celebrate each other. And so we would
Hmm.
get food for each other. We would go out to dinner. And I have one sister left. And so we still do. We go to the movies. We go
Hmm.
get petties. We celebrate ourselves on Mother's Day. In this digital world, it's wonderful because I still communicate with my son. He lives in another state. And so I
Hmm.
know I'm going to hear from him every Mother's Day. I know he's going to
Hmm.
send me flowers or send me a gift. And I celebrate that. I appreciate that. But I'm
Yeah.
still not physically with him. And so I have to do things to celebrate me. I feel good
Mm.
about that. I raised him. He's doing well. So I celebrate that. That's
Yeah.
celebrating mother for me. And so
Yeah.
all of the things that I like to do for myself, I love, as you know, walking. So some
Hmm.
Mother's Day, I just walk. Some Mother's Day, I sit, do nothing. Some Mother's Day, I read a book. Some Mother's Days, I get with my sister and we do something. So it just depends on what I want to do for me. But it's a good time in my life because it is all about me. And so that's
Yeah.
what I encourage women to do when they're alone. Sit with yourself, do something nice for
Mm.
yourself, put on your fabulous pajamas and have a good
Yes.
day. You don't even have to leave the house. But when you put on your fabulous pajamas, you feel fabulous. And so
Yeah.
that's some of
Yeah.
the things that I think a person who is physically alone can do to celebrate herself.
Mm. Thank you for
Mm.
that. And those were some good thoughts. Lysandra, did any of these resonate with you about the needs and celebrating Mother's Day?
Yeah. So Michelle, like, yeah, I hit every branch on that tree thinking about Mother's Day.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hit every branch on that tree. But when I think about like how to navigate Mother's Day and what moms need, I think about like the complexity of Mother's Day for a lot of people. Mother's Day is really a very emotional time for people, right? You're
Yeah.
thinking about, people who have lost their moms and feel like they don't have a reason to celebrate mom. You're also thinking about people who have very complex relationships with their moms, right?
Oh,
And
yes.
don't want to celebrate mom because of those relationship breakdowns. And then you're also thinking about moms who have lost children on Mother's Day and how they might be experiencing their emotions on Mother's Day. And so when I
Mm,
think about those things, because those are very hard days to navigate for some people, and I think about like the things that we can focus on during those times. So sometimes when you have lost a loved one of the things you tend to do during holiday seasons is focus on that loss, right? I don't have
mhm,
mom
mhm.
here. I don't have my children here. I don't have all of these supports around. And I like to try to gently move people from focusing on the loss to focusing on what they gained as a result of these relationships, right? The memories. We celebrate the memories. We celebrate the lessons that we learned from having those individuals in our lives. And we celebrate the pathways that they set us on as a result of their lives.
Mm,
So focusing on the pathways and how, my mom brought me into this world and whether I had a great relationship with her or not, she set my life on a pathway. She made a choice to have me, and so that set my
mhm.
life on a pathway. So even if I can't like celebrate my mother, I celebrate myself, right? I
Yeah.
celebrate myself as a result of my mom, whether that was a forced choice or not, right? Because some moms were forcing it to that choice to have that child. So whether that's a
Mhm.
forced choice or not, I choose to celebrate myself as a result of that choice. And when I'm thinking about celebrating myself and all of the emotions that come, I like to remind people that you have survived 100% of the days that you didn't think that you were going to make it. If you're still alive, if you still have breath, you have survived 100% of the days that you didn't think that you were going to make it.
Well,
Yeah,
snap.
yeah, yeah. And
You
it
have.
means, yeah, yes, absolutely. And it means, celebrating motherhood means acknowledging all that we've given, all that we've given, survived, built, nurtured over the years. And so I agree with that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So when you don't feel like you have any reason to like celebrate, or this is a doom and gloom day for some people, because some it is. It feels like a very gloom and doom day. But
yeah.
celebrate yourself, celebrate your survival, celebrate, how you can move from that only survival mode to thriving mode by understanding that you have been set on a pathway and you have survived all of these days. You didn't think you wanted to make it, you didn't think you could make it, you didn't feel like making it. You got through it. You really, really did. And so focusing on that strength that you have is important in those days when you feel like I just don't have enough in me to go any further, because you made 100% of the days that you didn't think that you were going to make it.
Well, now
That is
that
good. That's good.
that brings me to a point, and we've all been reading about children, adult children who are choosing to go no contact with their parents. And so for the mother, and none of us, there are no perfect mothers. We don't stand here today as perfect mothers. But for the mother who has a living child, but whose child may not be in contact with her anymore, how does that woman celebrate her strength? Because so many of us look at where our children are. And in fact, all of you, when I interviewed each one of you, I asked what your greatest accomplishments were. You all said your children. You, all of you. And so, if my child is not talking to me, if my relationship with my child is very challenged, if my child is making choices that I don't agree with, how do I reconcile my strength as a mother with that? What are your thoughts,
Mhm.
both of you?
So I'll
Well, I
I'll
know.
just say
Go ahead,
I'll just
Latanya.
say that I definitely encountered that in my work. I have, people who desire to go no contact with their parents. And I have parents who have had the issue of struggling, a mom struggling, with a child deciding to go no contact. And so what I try to help, that mom focus on is, it is very hard, it's very difficult, it's very lonely. You start to doubt yourself, and you start to feel, that you don't have any value or any worth. I try to help the parent, the mom, reconcile, like, there are reasons why your child chose to do that. And so the real work becomes, okay, acknowledging that there's work from you to do, right? And doing that work, because eventually at some point in time that contact is going to be or attempted to be reestablished. So if you do the work, and hear what your child has said about why they've gone no contact with you, I mean, that's an area of growth for you. And so I try to help them to understand that. And then in terms of like how they're feeling abandoned, right? That a whole abandonment piece that a parent might feel when their child goes no contact, really like helping them to see, like, your child, you raised a child that felt like they had to make a decision that was best for them. Honor that decision. Honor that decision. Honor the child that you raised, that they made a decision that for whatever reason they needed to have this space of time away from you. And when in honoring that, what you're really telling yourself is that you've helped somebody to make good decision making processes. You've allowed them to be autonomous in that way, in the same way that we all want to have autonomous autonomy and agency. And so exercising that agency means that you raised an adjusted child, that can do that, because some people don't do that. Some people don't walk away from relationships that they need to walk away from for a season. Now, I'm not one of those therapists that hones in on no contact. I try within everything in me to help people to build capacity, right? To build capacity. I don't think that mental health is something that you should protect, but I think that mental health is something that you strengthen. And you can't strengthen anything that you're not willing to work. That's tantamount to saying, I want to get healthy and get in shape, but I never go work out. I never go walking. I never do anything, but I want to get in shape. I want to be strong. Well, mental health is the same way. Mental health does not strengthen because you distance yourself and you work and you walk away from people. Mental health becomes strong when you can set healthy boundaries. And boundaries look like this. This is what I'm going to do if you do this. Boundaries doesn't mean that you just build a wall and don't let anybody in. Boundaries means if you do this, then this is my response to what you do. And that's how you build healthy boundaries. I'm trying to create, in people, the sense that I build fences and not walls, right? I build a fence. There's a guard around it, but there's a gate to the fence, and I can open and close that gate when I need to. But a wall is something that's impenetrable. You can't get through that. And so I don't. I work with clients to help them to not build walls, but build fences. And so no contact is not necessarily protecting your mental health. It's actually weakening your mental health, because you're not actually dealing with and facing the things that you need to deal with and face. You're not having the conversations. You're not asserting your autonomy. You're not, really kind of dealing with the issues at hand. You're just kind of walking away from them. And so I get that that's necessary for a period of time to kind of like work on yourself and get yourself, but then there should be some re-engagement to some degree. Now, what that degree looks like, depending on the relationship and what's going on with that relationship, I get it. You might have to take that person in small doses. You might have to take mom in small doses when that is a thing. But just completely going no contact is not something that strengthens your mental health. And so for moms who are experiencing that, there's a whole process, by which I take my clients through to kind of help them understand and develop empathy for the other, whether it is the mom or the child, and or do the work on themselves to kind of have better communication, to leave the passive aggressive ways away, to get rid of, those unhealthy communication patterns and those thought processes that lead to the no contact in the first place. So those are some of the goals that I would say people should think about when they're having that no contact space with their parent.
Hey, this is Michelle Akins. Quick question. Are you looking for a fresh, powerful way to get your business in front of new customers? Primetime Makeover is an online show all about transformation, spaces, style, confidence, and our audience is engaged, inspired, and ready to discover businesses just like yours. We don't do forgettable ads. We feature brands in real, meaningful moments people actually connect with and trust. If you want affordable exposure that stands out and drives real attention, this is it. Check us out and learn more at www.itspossible.today and click on the Primetime Makeover page. Let's get your business in the spotlight. I'll see you in prime time. And so, Sheila, I believe you had a question about no contact.
Yes, Lysandra, thank you so much. You explained that so well because I have to be honest with you. I had never heard the term no contact. Is it a new thing? Because I, even growing up as a child and even in my adult life, we always had good relationships with mom. Mom ran the house and mom did everything. So where did this come from? How did this come about? I really don't understand it at all.
Hmm.
So can,
It's a
can you tell me,
relatively
is it
new
a new
phenomenon.
thing? It
Yeah,
is?
it's a relatively new phenomenon. I think we started to see more of those decisions to go no contact right before COVID, when a lot of things were going on politically and socially, that were happening, and people had differing views. And this concept of no contact was, I can't be around people who support things that I don't support. Right. And I think the biggest, thing was the potential for influence, right? People have difficulty disagreeing about things. And we see it. It plays out, we're seeing it all the time. And so it's a relatively new phenomenon for mostly kind of like millennials. They kind of have that, sense of, well, I just will go no contact. And it's with parents, it's with friends, it's with, relatives, that kind of a thing. But it's especially hurtful when it happens with a parent. It's especially difficult for a parent to navigate no contact. And so, yeah, it's the sense that, I won't text, I won't call, I block you. You can't reach me on any medium, social media, telephones, emails, everything. Like, I block all avenues of contact with this person. And so that is what we're experiencing. And it really kind of is weakening our social structures, because we don't have those people that we can now rely on because we've gone no contact with them. And so I think that, trying to help people have healthy boundaries, right? There is a sense of having a healthy boundaries. You should not be in situations where you're being abused mentally, emotionally, physically. I get that. Yeah, those things, may necessitate no contact. But, sometimes there are ways to navigate that where, okay, maybe you have a person go in with you when you see this person or talk to somebody. You have a safe person that you can call or you can have with you to say, okay, if it gets to this point, then I'm gonna leave or whatever. And now I think that's creating healthy boundaries, right? Like maybe checking on a parent, making sure they're okay, but maybe we can't get into certain discussions. Maybe that's the boundary. We can't talk about these things, or we can't talk about these things because it's just gonna go left. And so when moms though have children who don't choose to connect with them, that is a deep sense of abandonment. Like parents can feel abandoned as much as children can feel abandoned. And that is a profound grief that I've seen parents walk through when the people that they gave birth to won't even talk to them. But I also kind of help parents be accountable as well. I mean, there's reasons why your child decided to do that. So are you going to work on those things? And sometimes it's difficult to get, especially moms, because they have this such a sense of sacrifice. They feel like they've sacrificed for their children and they've done all of these things. And we honor that. We celebrate those things. But are there areas of your life that you need to like adjust? How you communicate, what you say to your children, how you make them feel blamed or guilty for things that you made a decision to do. And so helping moms really kind of evaluate, their thought processes. And we're talking generationally. So you have those millennials, well, then their parents were Gen X, right? And so Gen
Mhm.
X, had some challenges and struggles in their upbringings and their childhoods and things that they were dealing with that caused them to be the kind of parents. So it's really a developing two-sided empathy, helping the parents understand the child's perspective and helping the child understand the parent's perspective.
Hmm.
Thank you for that. Um, you are definitely the expert in this area, but
Okay.
I'm going to say this. My son is a millennial. I can't imagine him not talking to me. And when I was
Mhm.
growing up, it was children should be seen and not heard. You didn't have a say so.
Hmm.
You did what your mama told you to do. And
Hmm.
I'm just saying, if my son decided, now I get if you're in an abusive relationship and all of that, I understand no contact. But if he decides he doesn't want to talk to me because of a political view or something he doesn't agree with, I'm going to snatch him up. Nah, that ain't happening. That ain't happening. Look, look, he's 44 years old, and I will get on a plane and fly to Washington, D.C., and snatch him and wring his neck if he thinks he's not going to talk to me. That's how I choose to deal with that. And I know some mamas out there like me. That's not going to, no, you decide you're not going to talk to me after all I've been through to raise you and put up with you and spend all my money on you and take you here and take you there to soccer meet and all of this other stuff. And you're not going to talk to me? That's not going to work. That's just how I feel
And
about
I get that. I hear that, Sheila. Here's what I'm going to say. You probably were a good mother, though. You
it.
probably
Uh-huh.
were a really good mother.
I still
And
am.
some people don't have the relationship with their mother that you have had with your son, that would be something that you felt like you could do. And the reality of it is that we're talking about repairing relationships and repairing thought processes as a result of this. Now, this doesn't happen for everybody, but some
Mhm.
some parents feel like, okay, they can, like, step in and like do what you're saying do. But you probably had a good relationship with your son. It
Yeah.
is the
Yeah.
people who don't feel like they have had a good relationship with their parents that they end up going no contact with. It is the people who have had these strained, abusive, manipulative, relationships with their parents who feel like they have to go no contact. And that is what we're really kind of working through. And the
Yeah.
level of influence and social pressure that they might be experiencing. Your son sounds like he's a mature individual, right? We're dealing with some levels of, and again, we're talking about protecting our mental health, some levels of emotional immaturity, some gaps in development, that would necessitate like some of those things not being able to connect the dots, right? We all
Mhm.
have had negative experiences with our parents. My mom was not, she did her best, and I have had
Mhm.
to, as I've aged, realize that she did her best. Was it
Yeah.
always great? Was it always cool? Some days it's still not, but I have learned that, and that's a maturity that I have to, you know, walk in. And so that's what we're talking about, like helping develop that capacity, helping develop that maturity, helping to develop, that level of empathy, and really like creating healthy boundaries. There have to be some
Mhm.
boundaries. There have to be some, but we're working on building fences and not walls.
Hmm. I I really like that. And Lysandra, as you were talking, a word occurred to me, which is perspective. I think that in our world right now, and there are abusive relationships, but I remember a joke Sinbad said some years ago. He said, if so and so went to jail for what they did to their child, our parents would have gotten a chair
Yeah.
because that perspective of, okay, and even the Bible says, when I was a child, I thought as a child, I understood as a child. But as we grow up, when I became a man, I put away childish things. As we get older, there are some places in our parents where we understand their perspective. For instance, I was a child born of Depression era parents who grew up in the South. So there were some things that they were very probably almost fearful of when it came to their children. So, Michelle, you can't talk too much. You got a smart mouth. I got told to shut up a lot. But that perspective was where we came from, you could get killed for some of the stuff that you're saying. And so, understanding that perspective gives us greater empathy for the journeys that our parents have had. do
Mhm.
we do we ever consider, and I wonder, even in going no contact, how might we consider, both as mothers, the perspective of our children, and as children, the perspectives of our parents, their vantage points? How do we do that to bridge some of this silence and loneliness that comes because we don't understand each other?
Mhm. Yeah. So, I mean, this is not popular, right? Like, this is not
Yeah.
popular because we have really kind of leaned more into like validation of emotions and experiences. And, I believe there's a place for all of that. But I
Yeah.
also help people to understand that your feelings are not facts. They're not
See.
facts. They're not facts. They're an indicator. They're like the lights on the dashboard. Like your feelings are like in your car, the lights on the dashboard. They tell you that something's
Mhm.
going on, but they're not the thing that's going on. So the only way that you be able to understand what's going on with your car is you have to have a diagnosis. You have to dig under the hood and figure out what's going on. You have to test the
Mhm.
systems, right? So your feelings tell you that something is going on, but you have to investigate. You can't stop there at the feelings.
Yeah.
And that's not a
Yeah.
popular message that we hear right now because everybody is, your feelings are valid. Yeah, your feelings are valid in context. Your feelings are valid in
Ah,
context.
in context.
In context, there's a context. And so we have to develop the ability to investigate what that is. Is it actually this other person? Or is it me? Is it me? Am I struggling with how I feel because I haven't developed that perspective? I'm not able to see somebody else's point of view. Or is this a real issue where this person is really doing me harm? And sometimes we
Yeah.
we stop right there at the dashboard light. We don't
Hmm.
investigate. We don't. check the under the hood. We don't check the systems.
Yeah.
We don't do any of that. And so, yes, developing a different perspective is the fastest way to develop empathy. You cannot develop empathy if you cannot see from somebody else's perspective. Right or wrong, good or bad, you have to understand it. You have to try to
Mm.
understand it. That is the bridge that mends relationships, right? I can see why you would do that. It's still probably not right, but I'm
Hmm.
able to give you grace for that because I can understand the factors that influence the way you behaved or the way you thought or the way you
Hmm.
communicate. We can't leave it there. Now we got to do some work to develop that, but at least
Right.
that becomes the bridge that we're willing to develop that work on.
Okay.
And
Now,
in
I
order
hope
to
that,
do
yeah,
that,
go ahead.
in order to do that, don't we have to stay connected? Not talking and no contact is never going to fix anything. So don't we have to stay connected in order to see each other's perspective?
Yeah, you do. You do. But sometimes that reconnection has to happen after a period of time, right? Let's just be honest. Sometimes you need to step away from the situation to better gain a perspective and maybe actually work with a therapist or a coach, to do the work. So maybe it happens after a period of time. But I tell people all the time, you cannot truly heal by yourself. You have to have a relationship with which to practice the skills that you say that you develop. If you think that you're a good communicator, but you're not communicating with anybody, how do you know that you've developed that skill?
Mhm.
So you can't completely heal by yourself. That's a misnomer to say, okay, I'm going off to myself. I'm going to heal myself by myself. Where are you going to practice that skill? Where are you going to know if you're patient if you don't have anybody to be patient with? Where are you going to develop empathy if you don't have anybody to empathize with? Where are you going to practice compromise if there's nothing that you have to compromise? If you're living by yourself and you're doing everything by yourself, who do you have to compromise with? How do you know that you can do that? So you can't truly heal or test that healing by yourself. It has to be in a relationship.
Yeah. Wow. I am this, and I'm just going to tell you, I trust that these conversations take the direction that they're supposed to take. This was, we were supposed to be talking about spas and candles and stuff today, but the shape of our world is such that we need to have this conversation for Mother's Day, because for many of us, it's not flowers and candy. And but I want to point out some of the things that I've noticed, and then I want to lighten it up. I want you all to get your funniest Mother's Day memory in mind, because that's how we're going to finish. But as we get ready to talk about that, Lysandra, Sheila, I want to thank you for this conversation because, Lysandra, you talked about pathways. So we can be grateful to our mothers for the pathways, um, that they set us on, even if our relationship with them is challenged. I would not be who I am if God had not used this vessel called the mother to bring me into
Right.
the earth realm. Then, Sheila, you talked about self care. And if I was going to do alliterations like using P's, I would say, okay, we thankful for the pathways. Sheila is pretty, pretty in the pajamas, pretty in all of the stuff, and pretty and preening. Because sometimes, even though that's a negative connotation, we do need to preen sometime before ourselves. Look at what God created in me. Look at what He has allowed me to accomplish. And you said it. I am proud of my son. He is 44 years old, but I will get on a plane can be another P, and snatch him if he tried to not talk to me. That talks about the safety in that relationship. You feel safe enough to do that. There are mothers who do not feel they can do that. And then lastly, I want to talk about this perspective that we get when we really try. Thank you so much for your the conversations, Because when we really try and we develop empathy, you're right, Sheila, that can't happen if you're not contacting. How do you get another's perspective if you have totally X'd them out of your life? So there's some opportunities for understanding there. I really, 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 really appreciate you all for having this conversation today, even though we are relaxing. So now let's end on a light note. I still haven't gotten the signal from the producer, but that's okay. I will keep talking. You know, I could do this all day. But as we talk about Mother's Day, can you share the funniest memory that you can recall about being a mother? Does something come to mind? If not, I'll start. Listen,
Yeah, go ahead.
I was when I got married, and my husband used to tease me because I had a closet full of navy blue and gray suits because I was in that whole John Malloy dress for success. And in order to be taken seriously as a woman, you had to wear certain colors so people took you seriously. And he used to make fun of me. He was like, "You need some colors. You're too ready to walk around with just navy blue and gray and all of the other stuff." So when my daughter was about 4 years old, so my son was six, he took them shopping to get me a Mother's Day present. And they came back the Saturday before. You all, it was the ugliest black dress I had ever seen. And he was, and we always gotta massage those male egos. We don't want to put a pin in them. And so he said, "Go upstairs and try it on." And I was like, "Ooh." I went up there and I tried the dress on, and it didn't fit. And my daughter followed me up there, and it didn't fit. And I was like, "Phew, it doesn't fit. He's got to take it back." And my daughter ran down the stairs and she said, "I told you all she wasn't going to like that dress. I told you not to buy her that dress." That was one of the funny ones. And so, thankful for, and my daughter still knows me to this day like that. So that was
Mhm.
my funny memory that came to mind. Anybody else
Mhm.
have one you want to share?
Yes, I'll share. So mine is after my mom and dad had passed away, that next Mother's Day, the husbands, the guys decided they were going to cook for us. It was going to be
Mm,
a chicken and waffle brunch. That was the idea.
okay.
So they did it, but they came with this pan of chicken that they bought from someplace, and these the frozen Eggo waffles that they were gonna put in the toaster for us. And so they were standing at the toaster toasting these waffles and popping them up and toasting these. And we looked like we could have done better than this ourselves. So that was their Mother's Day for us: frozen waffles and some, I think it was J&J or something like that, chicken. So it was hilarious because it turned out to be a complete mess. First of all, I don't even like waffles. Don't like waffles. But
Nobody
so
asked you.
so
You
no,
Yes.
just
we
like the
decided
dress. Yeah.
chicken and waffles. So that was the meal, and it turned out to be, we got through it, but it wasn't good. It was funny. It was very funny, and
It was fun.
they really
See?
thought they did something. They were like had their chest poked out with these chicken and waffles. Yeah, we're gonna prepare this brunch. So that was mine.
Yeah. Yeah. That's hilarious. So my funny Mother's Day kind of involves both of those things that you guys talked about. So
Okay.
in 2000, after I had my third son, he was born late April. So Mother's Day, I was still kind of down, from childbirth and
Yeah.
everything. And so, my older kids and my husband at the time, they decided that they were going to make breakfast for me for Mother's
Okay.
Day. And they
Okay.
burned everything. There was not anything that was not burned. So we had this burnt breakfast, and I'm like, okay, we all ate cereal, I think that day afterwards because the food was so bad. But then when it came time for like the gifts, my husband brought me this hat, this church mother hat. Now I don't wear hats at all. I don't wear hats at all. But he brought me this red and gold with all the little stuff on it. And I was like,
Oh,
oh, thank you. And I was just trying to be so gracious about it. And I wore it one time just to say that I wore it. So he must have taken that as a signal that I liked it. He bought me another one.
he's gonna have you looking
No,
like Miss Pearl from Hee Haw.
yeah, yes, yes. Like, what are we doing here? Have you ever seen me wear a hat? Ever?
Not ever.
Not ever.
As Cat
And
Williams
so
would say, not never.
I had this burnt breakfast and this hat, and I had just had a baby. And I was just thinking to myself, I wish I was a little further on so I could go shop and do my own thing because this is not working for me. Not working, not working. So then after that, I decided all my kids gonna learn how to cook, and they all know how to cook now. So I'll never have a
No more
bad
burnt
Mother's
Mother's Day
Day.
breakfast.
No more bad breakfasts. No, no more. No more.
So, if you were watching this video and trying to decide what you're going to get for your mother, if you can't cook chicken and waffles, don't do that for breakfast. In
Don't.
fact, if you've never seen her wear a hat, don't get her a big mini pearl hat. And you know what? Just let her pick out her own clothes. Let her pick out her own clothes. And then we've given you some other things. Deep rest and quiet. Deep rest and quiet. Reduce
Yes.
the mental load. Wash the clothes. Pampering and self care. Get a spa certificate.
Yes.
Um, and that heartfelt connection. Write a note. Tell your mother in writing what she means to you, so that she can take it out and look at it anytime she gets lonely. I think that's the best gift. But that's just me. Any other
Mhm.
closing thoughts for my beloved co-hosts?
I'll just say create your own ritual. Do a new thing.
Mm.
Create a tradition for yourself that fits into your life the way it is today. That would be my message to mothers.
Mhm. And I would just say, celebrate this day. You might not want to celebrate it. You might feel sad or lonely for a variety of reasons, but you're here and you get to celebrate the fact that you're here. And none of us get into this world without a mother. None of us do. And so celebrate the fact that you came through a vessel, whether good or bad. Celebrate you on Mother's Day.
Thank you all for this show, and I celebrate you all. Sheila, I am such an admirer of you. You just keep getting better over time. I'm going to catch up with you and walk. I celebrate you, my beautiful friend. And Lysandra, I am always amazed at the wisdom that comes out of your heart. It doesn't just come out of your mouth, it comes from your heart. This is a
Yes.
part of who you are, and you happen to be beautiful too. I celebrate you both. Melissa, you're not here, but I celebrate you. I love
Yeah.
you, you spunky thing. And yes, as she said in her, it's all about me. I love you. I celebrate you all. And happy Mother's Day, my friends.
Happy
Happy
Mother's
Mother's
Day.
Day.
I love y'all
Happy
so
Mother's
much.
Love you
Yeah.
guys immensely.
Love you all. All right. Talk to you next time.